Imagine our friend Ethan. He spends years, literally years, chasing this one massive dream, only to lose everything in a single moment. The interview ends, the company says he just hasn't been selected, and you can almost feel his heart sink. It's like all around him lie the shattered glass pieces of his goals. And in that heavy silence, there's just one thought echoing in his mind. Maybe I'm just not good enough. It's that crushing, universal sting of rejection that, let's be honest, we have all felt at some point. But what if I told you that failure actually isn't the opposite of success, that it's actually the most critical component of it? Well, in this explainer, we are going to unpack the psychology of failure and discover exactly why a growth mindset overcomes a fixed mindset every single time.
To figure out how to overcome failure, we first have to ask a really crucial question. Why does it feel so painful in the first place? Well, psychologists and neuroscientists have found that your brain actually reacts to failure as though it's encountered a literal physical threat. And this goes way, way back. Throughout human history, our ancient ancestors relied on group acceptance for their basic survival. Being rejected, losing status, or getting excluded from the tribe didn't just mean you were embarrassed. It could severely reduce your chances of surviving out in the wild. It could literally be deadly. So even today, your modern brain is still carrying around those exact same ancient survival instincts. Okay, Section 1, the brain's alarm system, and why our minds overreact to setbacks.
Let's dive right into one of the biggest myths society teaches us. It's this idea that successful people rarely fail. Honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth. The world's greatest achievers didn't succeed because they magically avoided failure. They succeeded because they used every single mistake as crucial information and feedback. Every failed invention, every rejected book, it was all just data. The only difference between them and everyone else wasn't intelligence, and it wasn't some natural talent. It was entirely their mindset. Because the reality is, failure isn't proof that you're incapable. It's proof that you're actually trying. Moving on to Section 2, the mindset divide, which looks at the two paths we can take after a setback.
So, picture this. You have two students who take the exact same brutally difficult exam, and both of them fail. The first student looks at the grade and thinks, I'm just not smart enough. But the second student looks at that exact same grade and says, okay, I don't understand it yet, but I can improve. They experienced the exact same event, but the story they told themselves about it changed absolutely everything. This right here is the ultimate fork in the road. On one side, we have the fixed mindset. Think of this as a cracked, gray path completely blocked by walls of self-doubt. A fixed mindset believes your abilities are permanent. Like, if you fail, you believe you are a failure. On the flip side, we have the growth mindset. Here, every mistake transforms into this glowing stepping stone leading upward. A growth mindset sees failure purely as feedback. And research consistently shows that people who believe their abilities can improve are vastly more likely to persist through challenges. So basically, a fixed mindset blocks your progress, while a growth mindset builds a staircase right out of your setbacks. Next up is Section 3, the perfectionism trap, and the invisible monsters holding us back. Surprisingly, most people aren't actually afraid of failure itself. What they're terrified on is what failure might mean. The judgment, the embarrassment, the criticism, and destroying this illusion of perfection. When our fear of judgment gets stronger than our desire to grow, we just stay stuck inside our comfort zones. So how do these psychological traps actually work? Take expecting quick results, for example. When the results don't show up immediately, our motivation just fades. But the reality is a lot more like a bamboo tree. For years, its roots are growing unseen, deep underground, before it suddenly shoots upward out of nowhere. Skills develop quietly. Then, of course, we have perfectionism. Perfectionists constantly delay starting anything because the outcome might not be completely flawless. But the reality is that progress has literally never required perfection. Every single masterpiece out there began as a rough draft. Done is always better than perfect, because action creates progress, while perfection, it only creates delay. All right, Section 4, rewiring the brain and the biological mechanics of learning. Now, what's really fascinating about this next concept is something scientists call prediction errors. It's one of the most incredible discoveries in modern psychology. When your brain notices that a prediction was wrong, like when you make a mistake, it doesn't just shut down. It actually updates its internal model of the world. Scientists call this learning from prediction errors. So instead of seeing a mistake as proof of your inability, your brain is actually using it as highly valuable information. Every single incorrect attempt is literally helping your brain refine its understanding. And that leads us directly into neuroplasticity. See, one failure doesn't permanently change your brain, but your response to that failure absolutely can. Neuroplasticity is just your brain's ability to literally rebuild and strengthen new physical neural connections through practice and repeated experiences. Every single time you reflect on a mistake, adjust your approach, and try again, you are biologically building stronger pathways for future success. It's like these sparks of learning spread across your brain, transforming weak little connections into these bright, strong pathways of confidence.
But, and this is a really big but, this biological rewiring depends so heavily on your inner voice. Think about the harsh critic, on one hand, repeating phrases like, "I'll never succeed," or "I'm just not talented." Now contrast that with the curious learner asking, "Okay, what did I learn here?" or "How have I grown?" Your brain listens incredibly closely to the words you use. The stories you repeat internally literally become the actual beliefs you strengthen biologically. By just shifting your self-talk from blame to curiosity, you fundamentally change how your brain responds to any challenge. Which brings us to Section 5, Habits of Resilience. Let's talk about turning this psychology into action. I want you to think of a tree during a massive storm. The strongest trees out there aren't the stiffest ones. They're the most flexible. They bend, but they don't break. Resilient people accept setbacks without ever letting them define their identity. And they always ask, "Okay, what can I do next?" Psychology research shows us that this kind of resilience is built through specific daily habits. First, reflect, don't ruminate. Think about what happened, learn from it, and move forward without just replaying the pain over and over. Second, break big goals into small steps. Small wins create massive momentum. Third, protect your physical health. Getting good sleep and nutrition are absolutely essential for your brain's ability to recover. Fourth, surround yourself with support. Encouragement just makes failure so much easier to overcome. And fifth, celebrate progress, not perfection. Every single step forward is hard evidence that you are growing. Finally, Section 6, Failure is Feedback and Redefining Success. Think back to when you first learned how to ride a bicycle. You would never expect to just hop on and succeed without losing your balance a few times, right? Mistakes are just part of the learning process. Every failed interview teaches you communication. Every unsuccessful project reveals a better strategy for the next one. Failure is not your identity. Failure is feedback. When we look at highly successful people, we usually only see the destination. What we don't see are the years of invisible effort, the rejected applications, or the really difficult nights. Failure is just a difficult chapter. It is absolutely not the final one. Every new attempt is proof that hope is still alive and kicking. The strongest people keep adapting because they know deep down that success isn't built by avoiding failure, it's built by understanding it. So, I want to leave you with a final provocative question. The next time life tells you that you failed, will you let it define you or develop you? Once you finally stop fearing failure, you unlock the absolute courage to grow. Remember, every single expert out there was once a beginner. So keep learning, keep growing, and use every stumble as the stepping stone it was always